I think we're going to call the meeting to order, it looks like here. We'll just go through and see who's all present, and we'll start with the opening remarks. So we'll call it to order. It looks like it's 7:03 p.m. Tuesday, August the 18th, 2020. We'll start with the roll call. So I'm present. We just worked down the list. Looks like we have Bruce Joy, Jessica Goida, June Williams, and let me just flip the screen here. Courtney and Claire. I think here comes Claire. Are you going to be sitting in, Claire?
Yeah, so Courtney's our host, so she's kind of just controlling the Zoom meeting from the background, and then I'll be here to take minutes and facilitate the meeting.
Okay, and Mike Fowler's not in tonight?
Mike is also joining us. Yep, so if there's any questions, Mike will be able to pop on and answer them.
Okay, perfect. All right, well, we'll start with opening remarks. Claire will give us a little overview of our protocol, and then we're going to do a quick explanation of our procedural updates to the agenda, and then well, come on.
All right, thanks, Vinny. Because this is our first rec meeting via Zoom, I thought I'd just quickly go over some of the remote meeting protocol. So as you guys noticed, we open up the Zoom webinar about 15 minutes before the meeting, just to make sure we can all get connected and do any troubleshooting. So that was perfect, good timing. We do not start the recording of the meeting until it's been officially called to order, but that 15 minutes is open to the public, so they can join during that time as well. Committee members are going to be participating via video and audio unless their internet connection is a problem, and then please feel free to turn off your video. Staff and the host are going to be participating via audio only. We would ask that participants keep their microphones muted unless you are speaking. If you're in a quiet spot, it's probably fine. It just helps to cut out on some of the background noise. We just did the roll call immediately, so that's great. I will record that in the minutes, so I've got us all noted here. Now we're trying to kind of formalize the agenda process a little bit more to help capture recommendations and make sure that nothing gets missed from meeting to meeting. So you will see a few changes, and I can get into those in a minute, but we will establish a speaking order. So I can use the order that Vinny just spoke out for roll call. So we can use that order to speak to issues and to vote on any motions and resolutions as well. So just for ease in the remote setting, we'll keep that speaking order the same. So I have it noted, Vinny, Bruce, Jessica, and June. That way everybody gets a chance and we're not kind of speaking over one another. For anything that we do want to have a resolution on, I'll ask the chair to ask for a mover and a seconder, and then we'll have everybody vote. It's a little bit more formal than what we've done in the past, but we're hoping that it'll help appropriately capture and better document what we want to bring forward. And then just the last two items there, if possible, I know we don't usually have many in this committee, but pecuniary interest declarations should be submitted in writing prior to the meeting where they can be. And then once the meeting is adjourned, we're going to stop the recording and participants will slowly disconnect. So please remember that it may still be open to the public. So once it's adjourned, everybody can disconnect as they please, and we will stop the recording. Does anybody have any questions on those protocols? Okay. So just a few changes to the agenda. It's laid out a little bit differently than it has been in the past. At the top there, you'll see there's a symbol that denotes a resolution prepared. So that is similar to a council meeting. So I'll have something prepared that I can read out. So anytime you see that symbol, I will read out the resolution. You can have a mover and seconder on it. So you'll see it a couple times besides some agenda items this evening. And then we have a couple new headings in our agenda. So you'll see consent agenda. Those are items that are provided for information purposes. We can definitely discuss them if there's questions, but they're items that are common and that may appear on agendas from time to time. And then tonight we do have some correspondence from the tennis club. And then after that, you'll see committee reports. So this doesn't have to be a formal report. This could be a verbal report. And this is just how we're going to move forward, capturing items that people on the committee want to bring forward. So it sounds more formal than it is. It's just under a different heading. Does anybody have any questions on the new agenda layout?
No.
Okay, perfect. So that's it for me on those items.
All right. So we'll get on to disclosure of pecuniary interests. I did not receive any letters or anything written, so we'll move down to item number 5, approval of the minutes, and that's from February 11th, 2020. It feels like it's been a long time. If there's any questions, any business arising out of those minutes, I think we'll move to approve it. And if there's any business arising, we'll get on to that next.
So I can read out the resolution here, that the minutes from the February 11th, 2020 recreation meeting be approved. So we just need a mover and a seconder.
Move. I move.
Bruce. So June moves and Bruce seconds. Everybody's all in favor? Yep.
Okay, and that's carried. Thank you.
In favor.
Okay. Is there any business arising out of those minutes at all?
Well, there's just, so can I just jump in here now, or?
Yes.
Okay. So I just wanted to talk about the volunteer mural. So I did a little bit of digging, and the wall that we wanted to put it on, if you remember, was the long wall in the foyer. And there is a plaque there. It's a big poster. It's framed. And I talked to Lynn Crow of the Historical Society, and her and committee were commissioned back in 2016 to do something for the 150th anniversary of the township for 2017. So they had some old photos, and so council gave them the approval to design this plaque. And well, it's a poster. It's been a while since I've seen it. I think it's about 24 inches wide by maybe 30 high, and it sits right in the middle of that wall. And how I missed it, I don't know. But when I went there with Janice McDonald, who volunteered to do the artwork, there it was, and it's definitely screwed to the wall so that no one can take it. So I did phone Lynn Crow, and she explained it all to me. So this has, and it was all dedicated, the whole bit. Council picked out where it was going to go, and there was quite a ceremony, July 1st. So I'm not sure that we can move that poster. So, and then haven't been able to get back into the community center since to see where else we could put it. And then on another note, I did find out recently that there was some plaques of some sort made by Jerry, the former counselor. And what he did was he put the names of all the former council members, and also there was a separate one with all the names of all the volunteers on it. But I think it was taken down when the last round of renovations and painting was done, and hasn't been put up. So I guess we do have something on the go. So,
Okay.
I know Lynn Crow was going to talk to Matt Bulmer and to get him to find out what happened to them, and I haven't heard anything on that. Jessica, do you know anything about that?
I don't. I'm sorry, June. I'm wondering, I mean, if that is the case, then I think if where we're wanting to put that volunteer painting, I did go there with Mike Fowler and we looked at it. So I don't know how we missed it either. I'm not sure. But I don't know. I'm not sure if there's a spot perhaps in maybe the gym or at the, I don't know. I'm not sure if maybe, Mike, if you're here, is there any other place that you could recommend?
Good afternoon, everyone. I can let June know that the original plaque is currently in storage at the administration center, so that can be easily retrieved. If the committee would like to go that route with reestablishing what we currently have, that is possible. As far as the location, I was aware that council had dedicated that section of wall for the 150th anniversary, but I think there's still some options, whether it be in the existing glass cabinet or another wall that we could probably find a suitable place for it.
Is there any way that one or two of us can go into the community center, or is it completely locked down? I know Janice McDonald has contacted me again to see how things are moving, and if we still wanted it done. And so I told her we had this meeting coming up and I would get in touch with her. So if it's something that we want to go forward with, then, you know, I can let her know. But if it's not, then I think in all fairness, I should tell her.
Well, if you'd like to send me an email, June, with some days and times, I can arrange either myself, my employees to meet you there to let you in.
Okay. Well, I think somebody from, you know, maybe Jessica or somebody,
Yeah,
or yourself. Sorry?
I'd be happy to go with you as well, June, if that would help. And I don't know if it maybe makes sense. Maybe we have someone from the historic, like maybe Lynn, I'm not sure, someone who maybe knows some more of the history to come as well. Whatever works, I'm happy to help.
Okay. All right, I can do that.
Perfect. Thank you. Is there anything else, any more things to discuss?
Well, I think there was a couple of things that the ladies were going to look into, right? I think the drinking water source at the Orc. And then there was also the Wellington weddings. They were going to look into, like the township staff, to see if we could get the township in their next issue with that.
Yes, so for Wellington weddings, I will provide an update to you all at the next rec committee meeting. I do have that noted, and my apologies, I have not followed up yet due to COVID, but I will have an update for you at our next meeting. And then what I did do, so I have prepared 2 resolutions. I did capture some items from our previous minutes that the committee did want to bring forward on a staff report to council. And now because of COVID, we never did end up bringing that report. So I will prepare that. And with tonight's resolution, I'm hoping we can take a vote on what items we will be including there. So I had a more basic resolution to begin with. And that was that staff be directed to prepare a quarterly recreation committee report to council on an ongoing basis. So if possible, if we could get a mover and seconder for that resolution. And if anyone would like the resolution reworded or changed, I can do that as well, no problem.
So just for clarity, could you just read that resolution out that we're going to vote on real quick?
Yes. That staff be directed to prepare a quarterly recreation committee report to council on an ongoing basis.
Okay, is there anybody that would like to move that we accept this item?
I'll move.
And do we have a seconder?
I can second.
Sure,
Bruce seconds. All in favor?
In favor.
favor.
Thank you. And then the second resolution I prepared, it included some items from our last minutes. And again, if people want this modified, I can do that. So I'll read out what I have right now. That the following items be included on the upcoming Recreation Committee report to Council. Installation of volunteer appreciation mural at the PCC, installation of drinking water sources at the ORC, and making open gym available during certain times on PD days.
Okay.
Well, I think as the chair, I think we talked about all these items, and I know we need to pass this so we can get the ball rolling. I don't see any problems with these items. Unfortunately, we don't know when the gym's going to open, but I don't see any trouble. I think we should move along. And
Agreed.
Claire, since you're doing a report for the Wellington weddings, should that be included on the resolution as well?
That's a good idea. Yes, I can add that to the resolution. So it would read that the following items be included on the upcoming Recreation Committee report to Council. Installation of volunteer appreciation mural at the PCC, installation of drinking water sources at the York, making open gym available during certain times on PD days, and the Township of Puslinch involvement in Wellington weddings.
that sounds good to me.
I think it's a really good idea because we don't meet every month. I think it would be really helpful to kind of keep following up on items that we speak on from one meeting to the next, because sometimes like I forget what we spoke about the last meeting. So I think it would be really helpful for all of us to be able to properly prepare and make decisions.
I agree.
Yep.
Great. Could we get a mover and a seconder for that resolution?
I'll move.
Thanks, Bruce.
I'll second. Is everybody all in favor?
In favor.
Yeah. Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
And that's the only 2 items that we've got to do resolutions on?
Those are the ones I have prepared resolutions for. That's correct. Yep. If we need
Okay.
to prepare another one later in the meeting, we can do that. Yep.
Now, I would assume the soccer fields breaking ground by May 2020 obviously didn't happen. I guess that's put on hold for a little bit, Bruce, I would assume?
It is my understanding that it was put on hold till May 2021. Although,
Okay.
I do have a question, and maybe Jessica, you could help, or someone. We received the Ontario grant. Did we receive the money, or is it just saying that they will give it to us at some point in time?
I may need, I'm not sure if maybe either Claire or Courtney could help me on this. I don't believe that they give you the funds until it's contingent on the project starting by a certain date.
Right.
And I believe, I could be wrong, but I don't believe that the money gets advanced or whatever the
Allocated, yeah.
terminology is until that time. I'm not sure if either Claire or Courtney can confirm or I'm not sure.
I think, Mike, did you know the answer to that question better than maybe even me?
Yes, so we're currently in the process. We've been nominated to the Ontario Trillium for the grant. We have been given a year extension due to COVID for this funding, and we are currently in the process of finalizing a couple soil samples and contour designs. And it is the expectation of the township that hopefully by late fall, we will be going to tender for phase 1, which again will include rough grading, final grading, and seeding.
Okay.
Sounds like good news. Thank you. Okay, is there anything else on this list from the previous meeting just to go over?
Nope. Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. All right, let me just go back to our agenda here then. All right, so we're gonna have the quarterly, okay, so we did those 2 resolutions. So the consent agenda, item number 7 here. Everybody would have received the package with the 2021 proposed user fees and the revenue and expense information. You know, unfortunately, there hasn't been a lot of revenue, and there's probably been more expenses this year. Just keeping, you know, staff on and what have you. But as far as the user fees, they will go up a little bit from what I've seen because it's been already passed. The only question that I have is, you know, are we going to have to look at maybe doing an extra cleaning fee when we do get the okay to open the hall, you know, or a sanitizing, like extra, you know. I think a lot of places with community centers and places that they rent are really wondering, you know, how are we going to go about keeping a level of cleanliness, you know, to meet standards for public, you know, for public health. And we really haven't gotten any official guidance yet from Wellington Dufferin Public Health on what they expect, but I know Jessica did send out what they're looking at doing, and that might change our fees, or, you know, I don't know if anybody's considered any of that. Anybody has any thoughts?
I
Well,
would
hopefully
think,
that would be a one-time thing. Sorry, I don't know
No.
who's supposed to talk.
Go ahead, June.
No, I just, hopefully that would be like a one-time lump sum. The
Mhm.
cleaning, I mean, we should be cleaning properly as we go along anyway. So once everything was disinfected, you'd think we'd be good to go. I would assume there's probably going to be some heavier duty cleaning supplies required, but you know, I mean, staff's supposed to be cleaning now, so everybody's working. So I would think cleaning could be done on a regular basis as part of their standard job duties. 'Cause I don't think anybody's been laid off, which is great. So, you know, they do have their regular jobs to do. So hopefully some of that's being done like on an ongoing basis.
Mhm. Okay. I'm just thinking, you know, if you say have an event with 300 people, who's going to sanitize and wipe 300 chairs and tables, and make sure that, that they're put away properly.
I don't think you're gonna have an event with 300 people, not for a couple of years.
No. Well, even 50 people, and guarantee that, who used what chairs and what was touched. And, it's just, you can really spend a lot of time and resources and manpower, just to be able to rent these public facilities. I did have a couple conversations with Matthew and Matthew Bulmer, and, he's kind of saying, we got to wait for public health to give us a list of guidelines that they want, and we may have to revisit, and we may have to charge a little extra cleaning fees, or if we've got to have somebody on staff while the event's happening to ensure, sanitation is being followed and social distancing and all that stuff. There's a lot of things to consider right now, so unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Jessica, has the council discussed this at all? Because Vinny is right, you do have to clean, and theoretically, you might have to have a field marshal, as we would say, to be on site to make sure everything is properly done. All I can say is in soccer, we have a field marshal that's there that monitors what's going on at the field when we're renting it.
So what I can say is at this point in time, the facilities remain closed.
Yep.
And no, it's not something we've spoken about at council.
Okay.
I would think, as Vinny said, some of that direction has to come from public health, but I would also say that that's probably more of an operational function rather than something that council would direct. Perhaps Mike might have more comment on that. I do believe, though, that, and I apologize that I'm not completely up to speed on this front, but I do believe that the province is allocating some funds to the municipalities to deal with exactly what you're speaking of, different things that arise due to, unforeseen expenses because of COVID. And I don't want to speak out of, I don't know exactly what that allocation is off the top of my head, but I would say that I'm sure Mike and his crew, I know that the staff have several management meetings each week, and this isn't a situation that's unique just to our municipality. And I think that they're probably quite on top of that. I don't know if Mike wants to add to that, but I don't think that it's something that as a rec committee, we need to be alarmed about. I think it's probably more than being well thought out.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Okay. Is there anything that anybody'd like to discuss with the item 7, the proposed user fees, the revenue expense sheets?
No, I think it's good.
All right. If we don't have anything to discuss, then we'll move to item number 8. So correspondence, we may spend a bit of time on this tonight. So we got some stuff from the tennis club. I don't know if our secretary wanted to read anything about what we've got, read the letter. So sub-item number 1 is the tennis club proposed cost sharing agreement. Letter prepared by Bill Sims, Pusslish Tennis Club Treasurer. And then there's correspondence prepared on behalf of the Township Council. And item number 4 was Rec and Parks Master Plan, pages 71 to 72 that was included. And then there was a little discussion regarding the community's needs relating to the tennis court. Bill Sims, Marianne Kirk, and Teresa Adams on behalf of the tennis club. And it looks like there was a resolution on that.
So they're going to be joining the meeting now, as soon as we can get them connected. And what we were looking for tonight, we've included this information here. We're hoping to have a discussion on shared costs and how we're providing tennis to the community, and just some thoughts from the rec committee on how we could make tennis more available. And we want to just kind of have a chat with the tennis community to find out things like how they're currently operating, what type of hours do they hold, what's their membership like. And I believe it was the direction of council for the rec committee to just provide some commentary and suggestions on coming to a shared agreement in terms of providing tennis to the community.
Claire, might I add, so do I understand that the township created this shared plan and the tennis club doesn't like it, and that's why Bill wrote the letter? Would I be correct in saying that?
That's correct, yeah.
I kind of share that feeling when I read the letter myself. Yeah, so we're looking forward to hearing what how they feel.
Well, you know, the tennis club, like ever since it started, has been left on its own because they were self-supporting. Like going back a number of years ago, minor baseball needed subsidizing by the township. Soccer wasn't around then, so, but the tennis never did. So they were kind of left, and one of the council or one of the rec committee members would go to their annual meeting, and so they were very self-sufficient. So it was like, well, if they want to replace nets and do minor repairs and things like that, like, why take that away from them? And so I think what they're doing, though, is because there's some bigger items coming up, I think they want it in writing. But then tennis or soccer, they don't, you don't have a letter about what the township is covering you, right, Bruce?
We have a rental agreement with the township. So we rent the fields and we sign a contract.
So in effect, this is similar. It's just an agreement as to what the tennis club is going to support and what the township is going to support.
Right. Yeah, the only thing that I am questionable is both the baseball and soccer clubs pay a rental fee. We got rid of the user fee 2 or 3 years ago, and the tennis club is still using the old user fee. So my only question, well, one of my own questions would be, should they not be renting the courts on an hourly basis versus the user fee?
Claire, is anyone from the tennis club in this meeting that is looking to speak, or are they just attendees?
They will be joining. They haven't joined yet, but we are just waiting. Okay. They should be joining any minute, and I think they will provide a discussion, and then afterwards we can ask questions and kind of go back and forth with them. So we're just, they should be joining any minute, my apologies. But yes, the idea is that we'll hear from the tennis club and then we can open up a discussion.
Okay. Claire, may I ask, or Mike, there is a lock on the tennis courts. I stopped by on the way home. Is that a township lock or is that a club lock?
To my knowledge, Bruce, it's probably the tennis club's lock.
Okay, because I know tennis clubs or tennis courts can be open, but there's no nets and there's no access to the courts as of tonight.
Just a quick update. The township currently does own its own nets.
Okay,
But the last direction from council was that for the rest of this year, we were going to continue with the old style or old ways of the tennis club running the courts. And we, in the process, allowed them to put their own lock back on it.
okay.
In one of the agenda items, so there is a letter from the township to the tennis club. And partly what generated this discussion is that council, their objective is to have the tennis courts open to the community for use. And given that they are permitted to be open now, I know COVID threw a wrench in things, but that's kind of what we're hoping to discuss tonight is
Yeah.
how we can provide tennis.
Yeah, that's my question, because the soccer fields have been open for 4 to 5 weeks. So the tennis courts have been open that long as well. I'm curious why they haven't been.
And hopefully any minute now we'll be able to find it.
Okay, yeah.
If I may, we do have one member of the tennis club here, Marianne Kirk. We're missing Bill Sims and Teresa, but if everyone's okay, I can move Marianne over and maybe just get the conversation started if that's agreeable.
Yes.
Phone charger, please. Got it in by my computer. Sorry, these meetings sure eat your battery on your phone. So I just watched it in the top corner going down quick.
Okay, it looks like we have Marianne moved over. Marianne, you're currently muted, but if you'd like, feel free to, I know we were potentially waiting for Bill and Teresa, but if you'd like to start us off, please feel free.
Claire, I think Marianne has her mute button on.
Yes, it looks that way. Marianne, if you're able to hear us, if you'd like to unmute, there should be a button bottom left, a microphone button.
Sorry, I just gotta plug in my phone here. One sec.
Marianne, if you're still muted, if you'd like, you can also turn your video on. It's up to you. Hopefully you can hear us. You are showing up. You're just muted.
Claire, I could suggest that maybe we just take a brief recess and maybe we can try to connect with Teresa, Marianne, and Bill to see if they could join.
Sure, I'll be here.
Sure, good idea. Thanks, everybody. So we can all stay on the call. Feel free to mute or disconnect your video. Thank you. Okay, looks like we're recording again. So I'll just note that the recess ended at 7:49. And thanks, Tennis Club, for joining us. Please feel free to go ahead.
Who's going to speak? Teresa, do you want to start?
Sure, I can. So thank you for letting us participate in your meeting. And again, apologies for the technical difficulties getting us all online. So I guess we're just all here to kind of review where we want to go forward in terms of this cost sharing agreement between the township and the tennis club. It's really, we were thinking more there might be questions or further direction from your end. So we were looking for some of that information here.
So, Teresa, this is Bruce Joy. From my understanding, the township has put a proposal to cost sharing, and I did read the letter from Bill, which is, so I'm just really trying to get a clarification on what you are happy and not happy with.
Okay, Bill, do you want to take this?
Sure. We've always been, I've been a member, as I said in the letter, since about 1998, and always been under the impression that we were part of the Recreation Commission, kind of an agency of the township, and we were operating the tennis club on behalf of the township, basically. The reason why there's fees involved is because just to maintain the nets and the maintenance and this kind of stuff, you know, the operation of the club itself. It's not, I guess back in the 80s when it first started, and I did speak with Cook, Donald E. Cook, who was a member of the Recreation Commission at the time, and then also a member of the Pusson's Tennis Club, that we were always part of the Recreation Committee in its initial stages. So basically the Executive Committee is operating as volunteers on behalf of the Recreation Commission so that we can have some tennis in Pussland. So it was a surprise about, you know, getting this long, detailed license agreement between the township and the tennis club. It seemed as though the township sees us as an independent agency, which we're not. We have no legal status, no charitable status, anything like that. And so we're just wondering where to go from here. And it sounds like the tennis or the township wants to basically take over the whole operation of the tennis club so that all the people of Pussland can use it. I did read some of the documents that came as part of the attachment to Claire's email, and it mentioned about 200, we have about 200 members. Well, the most we've had in the last 5 years is 69. This year we had 58 members, and that includes 10 from outside the township. So, you know, we're looking at about 50 to 55 members, people in the township that want to play tennis. Plus, you know, that 50, 55 may include husbands and wives and children as well. Or you can double that because a membership could be a single or family or couple. But, you know, at the most, there's probably 100 people that play tennis in the township. And the fees are $40 for the tennis club and $10 for the township user fee on top of that, unless you're out of the township, and then $25 extra. So it's fairly minimal. So we're just trying to get an understanding. What is it the township wants to do, and how do they see the tennis club operating, and whether it's necessary for the tennis club to continue or not. That's basically, I mean, the tennis club is in it for fun. The fees are minimal, and the fees include 4 professional lessons, 1-hour lessons for each of the people if they want to join them. And anyhow, I'll let somebody else speak if they want to add to it.
If I can just jump in quickly. So just to kind of give some background as to why we're here at the Rec Committee tonight. So council has expressed a desire to enter into an agreement with the tennis club to make tennis available to the community at large. And as an advisory committee, we can't really give direction here tonight. We're just making recommendations to council. And I think the intent was to gather information both from the tennis club, some of those things you've answered, Bill, in terms of membership and fees and things like hours, how many people do you get playing a week, that sort of thing. And then for the Rec Committee to perhaps provide some commentary on how they've seen other shared agreements work. And we can take this discussion tonight and bring it back to council as a recommendation, but we're not making any firm direction here tonight or deciding on anything. It's more of an information sharing opportunity, if that makes sense.
Okay. Now, as the chair of the meeting, is there anybody that has any questions that they'd like to ask Bill, or who did you join us with here, Bill?
Can I add one more thing?
Yes, please.
One of the big things that was in your draft agreement was that the tennis club should pay for have $5 million worth of liability insurance. And it was always our understanding, and it was confirmed in the past, that the insurance on all the public lands in Puslinch and the recreational lands were covered by the insurance policy of the township. So the tennis club never had to buy any insurance because we were part of the Recreation Commission under its wing, sort of thing. So has that changed?
Unfortunately, I can't answer that, but maybe Courtney or someone could answer that.
So I'll just briefly just say that I know that insurance in general is part of every agreement for the most part. Our users do either purchase insurance through the township, or they provide their own general liability insurance separately as a corporation. So that is something that is kind of seen across the board, but I don't believe that the Rec Committee necessarily has the expertise to answer that question. So I don't think that's part of the discussions here tonight.
Yeah, the other thing is, I think the tennis club is totally separate from the way the soccer and the baseball clubs operate. They're probably part of the Ontario associations or have their own independence. And do they rent their time from the township facilities, or how do they work separate? They're not looked at the same as the tennis club, I presume, or they're certainly not operating the same as the tennis club.
I'm sorry, Bill, and that was with respect to insurance, just how?
Well, insurance plus other operations. I mean, the Baseball Association, they're part of an Ontario Baseball Association League or something like that, or you rent the land to them, as I understand, on a per hour basis based on some of that documentation that was attached to the memorandum today.
I think that the committee could speak about some of the other agreements that are in place, or possibly the director could talk about how some of our other user groups use the facility and kind of the agreements that are in place with them. I think that's definitely part of the discussion tonight. So I'll leave that to them if they have any comments or knowledge on the other user groups agreements that are in place.
Yeah, Claire, this is Bruce. I could talk forever about what we're doing. Bill, I'm the president of the Puslinch Minor Soccer Club.
Right.
No, Claire, I don't know if I can do it here, or would it be better to do offline and I have private discussions with Teresa and Bill? What do you suggest?
I think tonight is kind of exactly what we were hoping for, so please feel free. I think that's the goal here, is to exchange information between these groups. Yeah, so go for it, Bruce.
Okay, so I'll talk very, very briefly about the soccer club. we have a membership of about 500 to 600 players. We rent the fields from the township on an hourly basis. We are a non-profit organization. We had to register for that. We have a board of directors. We have to provide, the club buys their insurance from the Ontario Soccer Association for its members. And then we also, the board has a D&O insurance, liability insurance. So if we rent any fields, we have to provide them with a certificate from our insurance providers that we do have insurance.
Right.
The township does not provide, they have their own insurance, but we also have they make us sure that we have our own insurance as well.
Right.
So are you guys you said before that you have no recognition, so you're not a nonprofit organization?
Correct.
Okay. Do you have a board of directors?
Well, just the three of us are the present board of directors. We used to have annual meetings, but maybe about 7 or 8
Okay.
people would come out. So we haven't had any annual meetings for the last 2 or 3 years.
Okay. Do you have any insurance whatsoever?
None at all.
Okay, so my advice, get D&O insurance, directors and officers insurance for any board. That is, so if anything ever happens, you have insurance, so you can't be sued. They'll cover your insurance.
And how much is the liability insurance? Just in a
Bob pays
ballpark.
for it, and it's about $900. But it's all dependent on how many people you have in your club.
Right, right.
Right.
So,
Yeah, that was when I came on board with the soccer club 10 years ago. We did not have it, and I made sure that we had it.
right,
Just in case anything happens, we're covered. The soccer fields are maintained by the township. They cut the grass. The soccer club makes them a soccer field. We pay for the painting of the fields. We pay for the soccer nets and the maintenance of those soccer nets. So basically, we're renting grass.
right, right.
And we pay a reduced user fee. I think it ends up being about $7 an hour that we rent from the township. Okay.
I was at the tennis courts the other day and looked at them, and it was back about 2010 or 2009 that we had them resurfaced, repaired and resurfaced, repainted.
Yeah.
And that was done through the township recreation commission and the township itself because they got grants from, they called them action grants or something like that.
Yep.
Between the Ontario and federal governments. And I think we ended up paying about $35,000 or $40,000, and that's excluding HST at the time because the township is exempt. But looking at the courts the other day, there's 1-inch cracks throughout them. As you probably know, the court number 3 is in a slope because of the swamp ground underneath those courts. But courts 1 and 2 have got lots of cracks in them as well. So if it's not repaired this year, it's going to need repair next year.
Right.
They're in need of a lot of major repairs, and that's going to be $40,000 or $50,000 possibly. And over the years, I think the tennis club has suggested to the Recreation Commission that the courts be relocated if tennis is going to continue in Puslinch.
Right.
However.
Now, I think, to be honest, Bill, from my personal opinion, is the township is looking at a ways to allow the public to play on those courts, to come out and play. Now, I know the soccer fields have been open for 4 to 6 weeks. When I stop by the tennis courts, there is a lock on the courts and the nets are not up. So my question to you would be, why is there a lock on the net, on the gate?
Because of COVID-19.
And then And we did pull it, and then the township pulled it off, I believe. But Bruce, we've got some concerns in terms of safety, because in the past, when the courts have been unlocked, we've had kids going in and riding their bikes and doing that kind of thing and damaging it. And because we've had this agreement conversation, it has, I think, made us more aware of potential liability. So if someone were to get in there and get injured, we don't have the insurance. So that was the other reason.
Well, I'm assuming the township has insurance on those tennis courts because it's their land, right? So you're kind of just renting those tennis courts for your own use. So maybe Claire or Mike can clarify that the township does have insurance if someone walked onto those courts and twisted their ankle or did something.
Hi, Bruce. It's Mike Fowler. I'll answer your question. You are correct that all public lands that within the township are insured under our liability insurance.
Yep.
So for the tennis club to feel they have onus or feel they're liable for the tennis club or the tennis courts to be unlocked, I can assure that they don't need to worry about that for that reason. I can also address the fact that the tennis club been unlocked for the past close to 2 months now. I think it was phase 2 of the reopening is when outdoor venues were allowed to reopen, and that's when the lock was removed from the tennis club or court.
Okay, so it was unlocked, but now the lock is back up. Is that what I understand?
That's correct, but the lock that is currently on it is a private lock. It is not the township's lock.
Okay.
But the reason for that lock going on back on there was 2 weeks ago, and I think Mary Ann can answer this one. She called the township about the lock and about the liability, and she was told to put the lock back on. Is that correct, Mary Ann? Mary Ann may not be there.
Yeah, she's not here.
Yes, I will confirm that, yes, the direction from council was for the tennis club to place the lock back on the courts until this discussion with the rec committee has been accomplished, and then further discussions will result in a report coming back to council on this matter.
Okay.
And sorry,
All right, so oh, go ahead, sorry.
Sorry, Vinny, I don't mean to jump in. I think that the intent of the locks being placed back on the courts was that if the tennis club put their nets back up, they were just worried that they would be damaged if there wasn't a lock. So I think the idea of the lock being on there is to ensure that their equipment isn't damaged, but it's not necessarily for any liability purpose in terms of safety. It's more or less for the equipment not to be damaged.
Mm-hmm. Okay, no, I'm just, commenting on my feelings. Being the chair of the rec committee, I mean, I did have a tennis membership years ago when I was younger and a little bit more athletic. And, they provide us, the township, a really affordable service. And unfortunately, with the game of tennis, it's hard to leave large caged, enclosure unlocked to the public because, vandalism and, all that kind of stuff can happen. I kind of see where they're coming from. They're all volunteers. They're not out to make big money, and they want to have fun. So I think that we should really, keep them going the way they are and keep it affordable if we want to have anybody using them. If we do open them up to the public, maybe we could have some kind of an agreement where, the tennis club unlocks it, these days from this hour to this hour. And, then we can keep a better eye on it and see how many people use it, from the general public. But I think having them running it like they have been has been a very good asset to the township. And if we were to lose them as a, volunteer, not-for-profit, I think the township would absorb more costs than it's worth for us to run it ourselves, or the township would be to run it. And, we'd probably lose it altogether. So, unfortunately, maintenance and everything is expensive. with any type of place. And I know the Optimus Club built that and donated it. But maybe, you know, if maintenance is a problem in the next couple of years, maybe the tennis club could look to some of our service clubs to help raise some money to maintain it and keep it up. You know what I mean? So I hope that we can, you know, keep it going the way it is. As much as, you know, we don't have a lot into it and we've got a good group of people running it, I'd hate to lose it. So, and it feels like reading that letter that, you know, the tennis club hasn't been getting a good feeling. So maybe we can try and patch over and make it work. So.
Vinny, you brought up a good point about the use of the courts and the timeline. So when I look at Schedule C on the cost sharing agreement, frankly, we did have some concerns about the way the hours would be broken out. So, you know, the April 1st to November 1st, weather permitting, you know, that is not really an issue. Traditionally, we don't open until May. That's when our registration is. But if we need to back it up to April, that's fine. But then point 2 says the township would permit the club to use the lands from 8 a.m. until 2 p.m. Monday to Friday, and then 7 a.m. till noon on Saturday and Sunday. And then the public would have use of the courts from 2 to 8 p.m. on Monday to Friday and noon till 8 p.m. on Saturday and Sunday. So this really begged the question of if the public can use the courts in those hours, which are in a way prime time, then why would they pay for a membership to use it in restricted hours? So that was a bit of a disconnect. So I'm not sure if the committee can provide some feedback on that.
Well, I think if it was me and you folks have always had it, you know, I think before we open it right up to the public for all these whatever hours they want, I think we should do a little test and see how much actual public will want to use it if it's open to them. You know, like, I kind of think it makes sense having a tennis club. You know, you're not charging absorbent amount of a fee. The maintenance is done. It's looked after really well. It's been a very well-run system. So, but I can see where the public wants to try and use it for free because they're paying taxes. So it's kind of a, you know, damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. Maybe the club is willing to, you know, open it up, you know, for one day a week or something to the general public, but, you know, and just see how many people actually use it that are not club members. And maybe we could convince them to be a club member if they, you know, get a little, they enjoy it the first day type of thing. So we could do a little bit of a learning experience and maybe get some more members to the club. So I don't know. I just don't want to lose the tennis club in general. And I think they've done a great job over the last, you know, 20 plus years. So
I just wanted, sorry to jump in, but I just want to remind everyone that the actual terms of the agreement will be negotiated through council. So we can, of course, make recommendations here, but I just don't want us to get too bogged down in the actual agreement terms, because unfortunately we will not be able to speak to those tonight.
no problem. William had his hand up.
Vinny,
Has the township had any requests for the recreation? Anybody had any requests by non-paying members to open up the tennis courts to the public? Because, you know, based on the fees, you know, an individual or a family would spend $40, $50, $60 and use it anytime they want. They would have a key then for their family. It's a very modest amount, and the whole purpose of the key is to make a record of, you know, having responsible people there. If you open it to the public, you're going to have somebody opening the courts and locking it, and maybe keeping an eye on whether or not they're doing it properly. And the other question, if we open it up, say, for the rest of the year, now, what are the rules regarding COVID? People have to bring their own balls and stuff like that. whereas the tennis club has provided balls for any sort of league activities, and there's always extra balls for people to use, even if they're not members. They come in on a guest basis. So it's not a big deal for operating it the way it's been operating. And unless there's a big demand by the public, I don't see the need to open it up even on a 1-day basis or 2-day basis.
I don't have any statistics here tonight, but just anecdotally, I can say that we do get a number of requests, primarily to our services staff who deal with facility rentals. But I have myself received some in the clerk's office for people that are interested in obtaining a membership. And so for those folks, we do direct them to the tennis club directly.
Right, that's good.
Can I talk for a sec, Vinny?
Yes, go ahead.
So I apologize if I start rambling on. Please stop me if I do. But I think it's important to sort of recognize some of the history and some of the contributions that the tennis club has made on behalf of on behalf of everyone for the township. I spent a little bit of time today trying to learn sort of how we got to where we are today. And if I understand correctly, the Optimist Club donated the courts, and rather than having the township spend resources with booking it and maintaining it and cleaning it and putting nets up and staffing it, the tennis club has essentially taken that role over for the township. So I think, Bill, if I understand when you say that you've always considered yourself part of the Recreation Commission, if I'm understanding what I believe is that you've sort of operationally taken over the role of what otherwise would be a recreational staff role at the township. And I know that in doing so and through the years, and I apologize, I'm not a tennis player, maybe I will be, but that particular user group has taken a lot of pride and ownership in making sure that those tennis courts stay as good as they possibly can within their means, and have used quite a lot of their own resources to make sure that happens. And so I can understand your point of view and where your letter came from, because it does sort of seem like this came out of nowhere. And I think perhaps it gives the impression that, for one reason or another, council is trying to abolish the tennis club or push the tennis club out. And I want to assure you that that's not what we're trying to do. And in fact, I hope today that maybe we can have this conversation to reassure you that we want the tennis club to continue on, and hopefully find a way to make it work for all. So that's just sort of where I see it coming. I think I think that there's a couple of challenges. We have a want from it seems as though there's a want from the public to be able to have access to the courts. And in thinking about that a little bit further, I understand that poses some challenges, because if the tennis club is maintaining it a certain way with their own nets and taking all this care, and then we open it up and it gets vandalized, who's responsible for that? And so I see some challenges there. I understand that from the public point of view, if they want to use the tennis courts and they have to be a member of the tennis club, that sometimes it's hard for them to contact the right person and get that key. So one of the suggestions that was briefly spoken about is perhaps the township office could sell those memberships on the tennis club's behalf.
That's a good idea.
The benefit to that is that that way, you know, being a member of the tennis club, as you say, for a nominal fee, you can use that court all year long, and you have a key. You can use it whenever and however you want. I'm assuming, I don't know how the scheduling works within your club, but that way also, it's also something that can be taken away. So if there's damage that's happening on the court, and we know who, I don't know if there's a way to track it, but then that key can be taken away from that person, and that ensures that the courts are staying in as good a shape as they can be, while still having some control. I mean, the alternative, like you say, is maybe we have to allocate some staff resources. If we have it open to the public during certain hours and certain days, our own township staff will have to be putting those nets out, taking them in, cleaning it, maintaining it. And, you know, I can tell you right now that at the township, the staff are strapped. There's no way that they can take on any more work with the resources that they have. So I'm talking in all kinds of jargon. I'm just trying to find ways to represent both, you know, the tennis club and also the township in a way that works and possibly has ways to engage more people in participating in tennis while still keeping the tennis courts in great shape. I mean, I believe that there's tennis courts in other municipalities that are open to the public all the time, which I guess is great, but are those tennis courts, you know, are they great to play on? I'm sure they're not in the greatest shape, and I'm sure they get vandalized and cost a lot of money to maintain, whereas at least when it's locked, there's a little bit of control, but it just restricts the access to the public a little bit. So if we can find somewhere in between, and I don't know if the tennis club can come up with some thoughts on that, or if any of the other committee members have some thoughts on that. But I do think it's important that it shouldn't be all or nothing. We need to come up with some kind of collaborative way of making this work between both groups.
Okay, thank you. I think, you know, as the chair, I think we should probably move forward with, I think my recommendation would be to let's work together, let's make it work, and listen to what the tennis club would like to do. And I think we should work with some of their ideas, you know. I'm okay, I'm pretty comfortable with, you know, whatever everybody else is feeling. I think we should probably, you know, move forward. I'd like to see them open. I'd like to see people playing. And I think for, you know, maybe it was a recommendation for this year with COVID, maybe we shouldn't worry about charging any fees for the rest of the year, because they kind of doesn't have much of a season left. But maybe that's not my decision. Maybe we could make it a recommendation, and then we'll have to spend the winter to regroup some ideas to figure out how we want to do it next year.
I think
So-
Teresa's been trying to.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yep. Just, and I know you guys have other things to do, and we don't want to take up the rest of your meeting. So I don't know if it's because I'm coming at this from the tennis club and have been involved with it for so long, but I'm not really sure I can see a way to accommodate both the public and a paid membership, because I do think that if people can access it at no charge, and although I should say through their post-lunch taxes, then where's the incentive for them to become part of the club? So I'm really not sure how that works. I also don't know how other municipalities, I mean, Jessica, you touched on that. I don't know how, for example, Guelph or Cambridge or any of the other communities handle their public courts. It would be interesting to see how they work. I can't imagine that they would have a blend of public and private. And so, I mean, we're open to looking at it. And yes, to your point, Vinny, I don't know how we could charge people a fee at this point in the season. So we wouldn't do that, but we're also in a way setting up a precedent then that it might just be open. So registration has been an issue for us in the past. So if that was something the township would be considering taking on, I know that would be helpful, but I think the three of us, Marianne and Bill and I, as we've talked about it prior to this, I'm not sure how we see a blend. So it would be interesting to hear that feedback. And Bill, if you've got any other thoughts, feel free.
No, I think what's been said is good. I like the idea of common sense that Vinny spoke of and Jessica spoke of. And maybe, you know, for collecting fees, if it's difficult for the tennis club to, or people who want to get in touch with the membership, say after the original May or April membership drive kind of thing, then they could pay it to the township and we could be informed who the members are and who the keys have been passed out by the township. There would probably only be, you know, 10 or 15 at the most additional ones, I think, come through the township.
Mm-hmm. Now, if somebody wants to find out information about the tennis club, is there a phone number or anything on the outside of the fence or on the township website?
Yeah, there is.
Okay.
There's a sign on the fence.
Yeah, there should be the email address on the site. And then through our last couple of weeks, I think I gave it back to Courtney in terms of I monitor the tennis club email and we'll just use my phone number so that we don't have multiple people. So they can reach out to me.
Okay. Well, I really appreciate you folks coming in and bringing your concerns and your ideas. And we definitely, you know, can't thank you enough. You guys do a great job, and we really appreciate all the work you folks have done. It's been a challenging year, as you guys know, and we really hope to, you know, maintain a good relationship. And yeah, we'd like to keep you. So, you know, I think that would probably be enough. If there's any more questions, anybody could speak.
Add something?
Yes, Jude.
In one of the reports in that tennis, and I can't put my fingers on it, there's going to be new fencing. And so I'm wondering if the township, because they're proposing that the third court be open to the public, so that when they did the fencing, would there not then be a fence put down between the second and the third court? I don't believe the tennis club uses the third court because it is on a bit of a slope. So if they were going to put fencing, then that would kind of solve the problem. But on the other hand, I do completely agree that the tennis club has done a great job and offering tennis in the township for a very nominal fee that most families that live in this township can afford. So it's basically open to the public. You just need to pay your nominal membership at the summer, and then you have unlimited use.
Precisely.
But maybe they're going to put that fence between number 2 and number 3.
You wouldn't be able to put a fence between the two courts because there's about a 3-foot gap between the posts, maybe 4 feet maximum. And if you put a fence between that, then you've got no room if you're running to catch the ball, you've only got 2 feet outside the line, and you need 3 or 4 feet anyhow, maybe 6 feet at least.
Okay,
Otherwise,
well,
you're
that's
going to
all
be
that.
running into the fence.
Okay.
Okay, is there any more discussion on this matter?
I'm just wondering, so I think council is looking for some kind of direction. So Claire,
Yeah.
based on the conversation that has taken place, do you feel like you have that, or do you need us to be more clear?
So good question. I think there was a lot of good discussion. I was about to pose to the committee if we would like to work together to draft some sort of resolution that we could then bring forward to council. It could be as simple as, you know, the committee recommends things remain status quo, or we could recommend a few small changes as the committee sees fit.
I do have one question, I guess. Bill and Teresa, are you more concerned about the access or about the shared costs? Because there's two things in there that I see.
Well, I think the access to maintain the condition of the courts is the one thing. The shared cost is, I mean, the tennis club doesn't have a lot of money, obviously, so if the courts are going to need repair over the next year or two, there's going to be a major expenditure required.
Right.
So,
Really both.
and that has to come from somewhere.
Yeah, so I'm assuming that you do not keep a hefty bank account. You just keep it at minimal to pay for your lessons, the professional.
Pretty well. I mean, there's a bit of a reserve that's built up. We've provided financial statements to the Recreation Commission when they came out to our annual meeting.
Right.
And, but, you know, the club has got about a $30,000 between GICs and bank account balance in reserve. But, you know, if the courts were to be repaired, you're going to look at much more than that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Our basic net income over the last 4 or 5 years has been roughly 800 to 1,000 a year.
Okay.
In terms of financial, you know, that's what we've netted out after paying expenses.
Right.
Our income in each year is, after paying the user fees to the township, our net club membership is $3,000 roughly a year. And then expenses running about 2,000, of which 900 of that to 1,000 has been the lessons. And then there's balls and keys and stuff like that.
Right, yeah, because you're providing a service.
Yeah.
When is your fiscal year end, or when is your year end?
Just
December?
December 31st. We go December 30th annually.
And when do you have your annual general meeting?
We generally had it in March or April of each year.
Okay.
Before
Okay,
the season starts.
I know the township or a counselor will come out to the soccer's AGM. No one came out from the committee, but someone from council is suggested to come out. So I'm assuming the same thing will happen with the tennis club, or should happen.
Yes.
In the past, Recreation Commission, what's her name? Hayden used to be a member of the Rec Commission, used to come out, or maybe Courtney may have come out in the past. Somebody from the township came from the office. The last meeting we had, I think. Teresa, do you remember?
I don't remember who it was. No.
So I'm assuming, and this is a question to the township people, is that should it be someone from the committee or should it be someone from the township?
That's a good question. I can work with staff to see in the past years who we have sent.
Okay.
Now the Recreation Commission, is that the like former name of the Recreation Committee? Is that one of the names?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so
Yeah.
it's possible in the past that it was somebody from the Rec Committee.
Yeah.
If that is the appetite going forward, is there somebody here that would be willing to do that, or we could rotate?
Well, Claire, all I know is I think for the baseball and soccer that it's someone has been appointed from the council, but I'm not sure.
Okay, no, that's helpful. I can definitely look into that and report back at our next meeting on who has gone in the past to tennis and who goes for other rec groups, and then maybe we can decide then if it should be a member of the rec committee or if it should be a council member.
Okay.
Are there any other local, like say the Horseshoe Club, are they part of the Recreation Commission operation, or they just?
I I believe they've ceased operations several years ago, unfortunately.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah, Bill, I think it's only tennis, soccer, and baseball that I'm
Yeah.
aware of.
And so we're really separate from baseball and soccer and the way we operate, because
Yes.
we're strictly local. We don't belong to the Ontario Tennis Association or anything like that. We're just strictly a bunch of people that wanted to play tennis, I guess, when they started up. You know, we've carried it on. And the membership now is sort of really geared up as they were 20 years ago. We've had trouble just keeping the team formation going, where we would have league play, sort of what called league play, where we'd have teams playing against each other on Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Thursday nights, perhaps. And
Have you investigated what it would cost you guys to join the OTA?
no, we never got to that stage.
That may be an option. I don't know.
That's the thing. You make it too unaffordable, and people are gonna lose more members that want to
Yeah,
just
that's
come out
true.
for fun.
You have to have some real keeners, I think, and players to get into that kind of thing. And then you get into the difficulty that we've had at some places. Well, somebody plays too hard or they hit the ball too hard, and it's hard for me to be on a team because I don't play as well as somebody else. So,
Right.
you get the pro guys and the beginners trying to come up. So there's that sort of difficulty as well. But we don't want to make it too professional.
No.
Is there any more comments or questions?
Is there
Okay.
something you would like me to capture to bring forward to council?
We'll try to keep it as simple as possible. The idea of perhaps having executive insurance, executive committee insurance is a good idea, and how we go about that would be a good idea. But I mean, if we can continue on as we are, I don't know about you, Teresa and Marianne, but it makes sense to do that and keep it as simple as possible and try to include as many township people as possible that want to participate. If somebody's having difficulty paying for a fee, then, we could probably do something, about that. Just let them play for free, or join, but give them a key so that we know who they are. But, if they have difficulty paying a $40 or $50 fee for the summer, we can always adjust for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe I'd suggest, I think you folks do a little write-up in the Puss Pioneer. A little bit of, let everybody know that, hey, we do take memberships. I do see your stuff from time to time, and I think it's a valuable asset that we, taxpayers of Pusswich have available to them. And it's a nominal fee. I mean, it's not a lot of money, and it's fun. So that's what we want to keep it. And I think if we, put that in with whatever we're going to talk about, we, like Bill is saying, you've got to keep it affordable. You got to keep it fun, or we're just going to lose everything, and it's just going to become a big fenced-in place to store stuff. I think we should just keep going the way it is. So.
Yeah. To answer, Vinny, good answer. Claire, to answer your question, I would like to propose that the shared costing be removed from the township's proposal, and that they apply for grants whenever fencing or paving is needed, because therefore the township is not paying for it and the club is not paying for it.
Yeah, or we could
Okay,
pay a third or whatever, based on our reserves that we have, but
Yeah, or so I don't know how we can do that, where it's a communication between the township and the club for a shared expense, but maybe not 50-50.
Okay.
I don't know. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, no, that's good. So I could write it something along the lines of, give me 1 second.
I don't know if June and Vinny, if you agree with me or not?
I agree with you. I think when big capital things come up, and I think there's a couple things coming up, maybe the tennis club, Township of Puslinch, and, you know, we all work together and find a solution, you know, whether it be a fundraiser or a grant that's available at the time.
Yep.
You know, there's always options, you know, and it's always nice to, you know, spread out big numbers, but when it comes time to get it done, sometimes you just manage to figure out how to make it happen and affordably. So, you know,
Well, like
I don't
said,
get too
I think
excited.
I just don't like the wording about 50-50 personally.
Mhm.
Sorry, my
I think,
internet. Go ahead.
is June trying to speak? I think she's muted.
Dude, you're on mute.
June, sorry, you're still muted. There we go.
There you go.
Okay, how's that?
Better.
Great.
That's good.
So I fully agree with taking out the 50%. I think it's great that the tennis club has the reserves, because at one time they did have a large membership. So it has dwindled, like a lot of things do. It's a cyclical thing. But that's a lot of pressure on those organizers of the tennis club to feel responsible for that. So definitely should be to grants, but I also feel because they have the reserve that they do have, that they should be able to use that for some of these maintenance items that the tennis court needs. Like, I think the paving, isn't that down for like 2049? Another 20 something years. So,
Mark's on last, sorry.
well, there, in that way, you can use the 30,000 towards it and maybe get a grant for the balance, or maybe the township will put some money in sooner. But that's what it's down for, if you look at that schedule, and I just can't put my fingers on it right now.
But you're right, it did say 2049.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but there's always ongoing maintenance, whether it's filling cracks or repainting or what have you. There's always something to do. So it's just a regular upkeep of having, you know, a nice facility to play in. So, okay.
Okay, so maybe I can read out what I've captured, and if we like it, we'll do the mover and seconder. Sorry, give me 1 moment. That the Recreation Committee recommends to Council that the shared costing be removed from the proposed agreement, and that the Township and the Tennis Club continue to share costs by applying for grants while using Tennis Club reserves. Is that kind of the essence?
I think so.
That sounds pretty decent. You know, obviously you'll put it to paper and distribute it with the club and with everybody before it goes to council, and we can make changes should we need to.
Yeah.
We can do
Now,
that.
on the other article about public use, I just don't know how we're going to get around it. I have had people come up to me and say, "Hey, what's with the tennis courts? Why can't we get on?"
You
So I
talking?
don't have an answer for you.
So Bruce, are you talking this year, or are you talking in previous years? Where people have come up and asked you
In
to get
previous
what-
years, when I was a member, when I was not a member of the recreation committee, I would have people on the soccer fields come up and say, "Hey, I want to play tennis with my kids." And I said, "Well, there is a tennis club," but they said, "I just want to go out for an hour. I don't want to pay any money. I just want to go knock the ball around." So I've grown up on city tennis courts where you had free access, but I truly appreciate your concern about maintenance and vandalism. We have that some of the time with the soccer nets. And we end up biting the bullet on that. So we just hope and pray that that does not happen. But I could see with the tennis courts where the kids would like to go on with their skateboards and their scooters and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We've had them climb over the fence and throw the brooms up into the trees.
Yeah. So I just don't know. I've had people say, hey, I'd like to play tennis. I love the idea of the township selling the membership, kind of like a fire permit. You have to go in and buy a fire permit, so you have to go in and buy a tennis membership. Whether it's a key lock or a combination lock, that's up to you guys, I guess. I guess you guys we're gonna have to come to agreement about the usage, because I think there is some public interest in using it, but how much time? I'm just not sure.
If you're going to go with an agreement, is there some way of indicating what the relationship is between the tennis club and the Recreation Commission? Like so that, you know, we're separate and different from the baseball and soccer clubs. We're not a non-profit organization. We're not a charitable organization or charity or whatever.
Yeah. And I'm not sure how to answer that one, Bill. And I don't know if that would be up to the township or not. It's, you know, because we're just 3 or 4 people on the committee, so I'm not really sure to answer that question.
I think that may be perhaps better directed through the actual agreement process, which is happening at the council level. I agree, Bruce.
Right.
We don't necessarily have the answer here.
Yeah.
Mhm.
June is talking about.
Okay.
If people aren't necessarily ready to fully decide tonight, I don't know that that's a problem. I think we could come back to the next meeting and make.
Like, I'm just wondering with the one thing with the lock on the door, you know, I know it took a while to get used to those electronic locks at the community center. You know, maybe we do look into some kind of an electronic lock at the tennis club where, you know, members have like a debit card type of thing that they swipe to get in, and maybe the township, you know, can rent out or give out cards to people that only want to pay one-time play or what have you, and collect a small fee, and then you keep track of who's in there and who's out of there, and, you know, maybe we can figure something out. I think we can make it work, so, yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you, Jen, for your time and letting us participate, and we'll just wait to hear back from you in terms of what, I guess once you presented your recommendation to council, will that be the next step?
So I think what would happen is if people want some time to maybe think about what the best option is or consider what we've heard tonight, we could come back to the next rec committee meeting and formalize that recommendation to council. I don't know that we have enough right now and enough consensus on what the best way forward is to make a recommendation. And so that would probably be captured again in a staff report to council. We would capture the recommendations of the rec committee. But if we want some time to think about that, that's no problem.
Okay, it looks like our next meeting is November 17th, so, you know, it's going to be off season for tennis, and hopefully we'll have lots of time to think of some solutions.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
So we'll just give them a minute to sign off here if they want to. And we'll just go down to number 9, committee reports. I don't know, I think we kind of already touched on some of this here, Bruce. Update and discussion on the soccer fields. Is there anything more we need to discuss on this matter?
Not from my perspective.
Okay. And Dana Mackinson is not here with regards to Google reviews and responses for township facilities. Is there anybody who'd like to give a report on that one on her behalf?
I can move that to our next agenda. So that
Okay.
Dana has a chance to speak to that.
Now, has the township gone on to Google and claimed those facilities as theirs so that you could respond to reviews and, you know, comment on them, etc.?
No, but I believe that that's what Dinah was proposing.
Okay. Well, it's really important, you know, especially to connect with people who will come to our township and, you know, keep everything. You know, they do say when you do see businesses where someone has claimed the Google listing and they respond, they do get a lot more business and a lot more attention. So, you know, if there is any problems and somebody reports a problem, they see somebody from the township or that has responded. People like that kind of stuff. So I think, yes, we should definitely keep that on the next agenda for November 17th. Before we move to adjourn, is there anything else that we'd like to discuss tonight?
I have one thing which I forgot to mention. On the last meeting, we talked about the public access to Push Lynch Lake, and the township was going to look into it and report back at this meeting.
Okay, we'll just backtrack to that. Is there a report?
There's no report, no. I believe there are some discussions underway separate from the rec committee about access to Push Lynch Lake.
Yeah.
I don't know that there's any more details I can provide at this time.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
I just brought it up, Claire, because of course I think everyone knows that McClintock's closed their public access, and they put on record that the lake is a private lake, which is not true. So I just wanted to know how the township reacted to that and what's happening.
Yes, so we have been made aware, yep, that McClintock's closed their access, and we have been getting a lot of inquiries from the public on how they can access the lake. And I know there are ongoing discussions. There's no resolvement at this time.
Okay.
But as soon as there is, I can make sure that we bring that to the committee to discuss. Yeah.
So Mike's not going to get his chainsaw out and you know, trim a path?
Mike, there's Mike.
No comment.
Because I know the access is overgrown, so I just don't know what you were thinking.
Well, I think that, like we discussed in the previous meeting, there was at one time access, but you're right, it has overgrown, and there's just no parking. There's just a lot of problems with it. So, you know, I think that'd be something that maybe discuss again in our next meeting. It seems like it's a problem right now. So,
I think, I don't know if there's any other township lands that go on to the lake, but it seems to be a hot topic whenever I'm out talking to people. And I'm sure that you guys are getting a pile of emails, requests, comments about it.
Yeah, Bruce. All I can say is that certain parcels of land have been identified. Discussions are ongoing between staff council, and further updates will be provided once more clarity has been obtained.
Perfect.
okay, thank you very much. Is there anything else to add to the meeting before we move to adjourn?
Oh, I have one thing actually. Sorry.
Yep.
I just wanted to, I'm not really sure that this is necessarily a rec committee item, but I did just want to let everybody know that the township has launched a website to try and help some of our local businesses that have been impacted by COVID. And the website, you have, by going to this website, which is called shoplocalpluslunch.ca, you have the ability to purchase a gift card from, there's a huge number of businesses that have sort of signed up for it. You can buy a gift card for any of those businesses to use down the road. It helps those businesses by giving them some cash flow right now when they need it, and then also some some sales down the road when things are hopefully somewhat back to normal again. So if you are out and about in the community, if you can help spread the word on that, it would be really helpful to our local businesses. I'm not sure how prevalent, I'm not sure how much people have awareness of that website. So if you are able to do anything to spread the word, I'm sure all those local businesses would be very much appreciative of it.
On that point, Jessica, can you send me, I've been to that website, but can you send me a email to my soccer address? Because
Sure.
we could put it up on our website, and that should reach 500 or 600 of our members. Because
would be
many
awesome.
of the many of our sponsors are in that on your website, right?
Exactly. Many of our local businesses are sponsors of a lot of the recreational.
So that's a great point. So I will definitely recommend that we do that.
Okay, that would be wonderful. Thanks. I'll make sure to send that.
I think that's great. Thank you for, the township for doing that. It's, very, very great, good to see. And we do have a lot of support for our local businesses, which is a great thing. And I think our businesses need everything they can get right now. So, really appreciate that. So is there anything else to add before we move to adjourn?
Just before we go, I wanted to mention if people do have some time to think about the tennis club, and if they want to email me their thoughts, that would be okay as well. And then I can kind of consolidate everybody's ideas and provide one cohesive recommendation to council. So if you wanted to provide those by email, that would be okay as well.
Yeah.
Okay,
the
I
next-
will, yeah, go ahead.
I'm just wondering if we should put maybe a date to submit those comments to Claire so that she can compile them so that we can come up with an actual proper recommendation to council for our next council meeting.
Sure.
Sorry, for our next
Send us an email and say, okay, you've got 2 weeks to respond. That would be ideal.
Yep, I will do that.
Or whatever,
Okay.
Because I know what, I gotta give
Great.
this some more thought. I'm just not sure, especially about the usage.
For sure. It's a lot to just buy
I'm
on the spot.
conflicted on this one.
Yeah, so yeah, I'll
Yeah.
reach out again by email and just put a date in, and then I'll include it on our rec report to council.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Perfect. Okay, well then let's see if we have a motion to adjourn the meeting. If somebody would like to make a motion. Bruce, and is there a seconder?
I can second.
June Williams. If we're all in favor, we will adjourn the meeting. So the next meeting is November 17th. It may be over Zoom. We may be meeting in person. So we will wait closer to that date how we're going to meet and await those emails regarding the tennis club discussions. Thank you very much, everybody. And if there's anything anybody'd like to say before we close, go ahead.
Be good, Vinny, be good.
Thank you.